So welcome and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining our tech talk this time. So today we are talking about Wi-Fi 6 features and new services. I'm Carsten Gedding, head of support in Zyxel, and with me we have Phil Pires. Welcome, Phil. Thank you for joining me again.
Hello, thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Pleasure to have you here. And I think today the topic is clear. We will talk about Wi-Fi 6. We also have one access point here. We will talk about it later. So maybe we start with a presentation.
Yeah.
Before you start talking, let's say, I would just emphasize once again to everyone that please, if you have a question, you can raise every time. I am monitoring here the questions on the chat. You can raise them there. Otherwise, Phil, please, you can start.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, welcome everybody. Hello. Hope you're doing fine so far in these, let's say, dark times, you could say. Let's actually start with the presentation. So again, welcome. My name is Phil. I work as a senior technical support engineer within the support organization, and got, of course, Carsten Gedding, head of support with me. And we're directly we'll take a look at the agenda for today. In the first section, we will take a look at the roadmap, being the hardware roadmap and the software roadmap. After that, we will talk about some crucial benefits which come with Wi-Fi 6. And we will also talk about the portfolio a little bit later. We also had a hands-on session yesterday and an example setup, which we will, from a theoretical point, added with a few screenshots, we'll discuss. We will talk about new products in terms of the 802.11 AC Wave 2 access points and the new transition from the older models to the newer models, as well as talk through the 11AX portfolio in general. And after that, we want to shortly move over swiftly to the Wi-Fi services, me being the online site survey, as well as configuration vouchers. And then we're going to have, let's say, an open questionnaire where you can ask your questions, where we can talk about different things in regards of the platforms which we offer, etc. A short zip, and then we'll directly proceed with Wi-Fi 6.
So I think last time we talked about Nebula 9.2, that was really amazing because all the new features are there. It's so easy to manage. And now with the access points here with the AX, they're all fully implemented into Nebula. This is so seamless and great. So that's really nice.
Exactly. So you clearly can tell that Wi-Fi is kind of the way to go right now.
Yes, absolutely.
When we're talking about Wi-Fi from a mobile perspective, so let's say from a cellular perspective, then we're also having the buzz term, at least in Germany, and I'm not sure where that's how that's going in other countries, Industry 4.0. So we kind of want to engage industries to move over to 5G. We want to the consumers to go over to Wi-Fi 6. So that's kind of the trend. And Wi-Fi 6, as kind of already mentioned before, is the new standard which has been implemented. It's a new standard of the so-called 802.11 family. Many might be familiar with 802.11 BGN. So those were the older standards on 2.4 gigahertz. Then came AC. Then came AC Wave 2, kind of a little bit, subtly in advertisements terms. And now we got Wi-Fi 6, which is kind of being the forefront of everything. And why is it the forefront of everything? I think of course, data speed is always a good thing. So that's one part of the equation over here. We got a data speed increase up to 25%. This is because of the enhancement of the modulation technology behind Wi-Fi 6.
And that we will see also in the test later on.
Not exactly. So this is, let's say, very technical. What happens over here is that the modulation technology has let's say, transitioned from 256 QAM, which basically means that you had 8 bits per symbol, and now you have 1024 QAM, which means you have 10 bits per symbol, which kind of equals up to the 25%, and that, of course, we will see in the comparisons. And from a theoretical standpoint, Wi-Fi 6 is the first standard to reach a theoretical speed of 10 gigabits capability. That kind of catapults Wi-Fi 6 directly to the forefront of wireless technologies, because this is state of the art. In industrial complexes, you have to have sometimes 10 gigabits You just imagine you have a big industry hall, 10 machines, they all are kind of using data, they're feeding off data into the network. You need just more than 1 gigabit. No chance to get around that, and Wi-Fi 6, at least from theoretical standpoint, offers this. So when we now can look into the future, enhance this a little bit, make sure that we kind of get out the maximum of the standard, and then we're there basically. Yeah, what else we have? We got the download, upload, multi-user, multiple input, multiple output. In short, DLUL MUMIMU.
Can you explain a bit more about that? Because I think this is a feature that is really underestimated.
Yes, so older access points had, for example, SU-MIMO, which means single user, multiple input, multiple output. What this means is basically the capability, or this describes in very broad terms, the capability of an access point to handle a lot of different requests from a lot of different clients.
Yes.
So single user, multiple input, multiple output would mean I have one singular client that is, let's say, using a plethora of different spatial streams, so to say, to the access point. So we got multiple input, multiple output, but only for one user.
For one client.
Exactly. Then we had an enhancement on this, which basically is the normal multiple user, multiple input, multiple output, which, however, only went in one way. So it was, let's say, kind of one-way thing, either download or upload.
Yeah.
And now we have with Wi-Fi 6, we have full-fledged download, upload, multiple user, multiple input, multiple output. Also what a term to speak out. And that basically describes that the access points on Wi-Fi 6 are absolutely capable of handling a lot of different requests from a lot of different clients with the same performance rate.
Which really reflects reality, doesn't it?
Exactly. So I'm a big fan of festivals and concerts. And of course, you have a plethora of people using the Wi-Fi there. And in order to ensure that they are every time connected, that's where this feature would really kick in and make a difference. Or we're here in Germany, and I guess that's also worldwide due to the Corona crisis, are talking a lot about digital education or digital education platforms and smart classrooms, all this stuff, all this jazz. That's where this feature also would kick in and make a real difference in terms of bringing innovation. And apart from that, to move away from that a little bit, is we got awesome new features like color BSS, which is an additional indicator when distributing and communicating what channel the clients are supposed to work on, target wake up time. And there's also a ton of different enhancements which come with Wi-Fi 6, but this is, let's say, just scratching the surface, giving a broad overview. I think data speed increase, the possibility to move over to 10 gigabit, and this I'll just say MUMIMO kind of feature, that's kind of both in download and upload, that's kind of the main features which the customer will directly recognize when using the Wi-Fi itself. The rest is kind of under the hood.
Right. Yeah. No, talking about the access point, when we talk about it, so everything is really possible to manage in standalone mode, but you have it there, right? Just
exactly.
Standalone mode via the Nebula environment as well as via controller.
Exactly.
On the access point, not every access point can be managed via the controller, but every access point can be managed standalone in Nebula.
Exactly.
So please, sorry.
Okay, all fine. We're after all having a conversation here, right? So in case you want to use Zyxel units with Wi-Fi 6, then we got you covered in any direction you could imagine, because we got the standalone access points. So all the access points offer a standalone web graphical user interface, meaning you can use your browser to connect to those access points. You can manage them over there. You can configure them over there. All fine. Additional to that, most, if not all, of the AX access points offer also Nebula capability, because this is just kind of the thing nowadays. Cloud solution is getting more and more convenient and also more and more state of the art. If I transfer data, I'm also using maybe a Google Drive account or a Dropbox.
Yeah, sure.
It's just a normal thing, or we're all using Netflix and Amazon and these kind of, let's say, streaming servers. So cloud is just on the forefront. And that's where Nebula kicks in, because it offers you the capability to connect your devices to the cloud, and then you can configure them from wherever you are. And the AX, as said before, they all offer Wi-Fi 6 features also. So you can, for example, also now in Nebula, set up a channel width of 160 megahertz. So this is kind of a Wi-Fi 6 only feature. So we're kind of, let's say, already on the forefront. We have that already implemented and ready to go. Also, the controller, the access points can be managed by access point controllers, such as the NXC 2500 series or also our USD series. And more Wi-Fi 6 features are being implemented into those units as well. So it's up to you whether you have standalone access point because you're using it at home, you're a small freelancer and using Nebula for that, or you have an enterprise system and you want to use a hardware dedicated controller. We got your back covered. Everything is Wi-Fi 6 ready. We're ready. Are you ready? That's the question.
Right.
Moving over to some technical information. After I'll take another sip of this nice Zyxel cup. Is here we have it, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 5, and Wi-Fi 4, which we have discussed earlier. The maximum theoretical speed, we're now talking here about clearest lab conditions, absolutely theoretical speed, and 11N was 600 megabit per second. And we already can see the massive jump which we had with AC. Yes. So AC offers 6.9 gigabits per second. You could argue, why would you need a new standard if you have that theoretical speed? Why not fully enhance that theoretical speed? The reason for this is MIMO setup, which we had spoken about, but also Wi-Fi 6 wants to cater the industry's need for 10 gigabit.
Yes, absolutely.
So it doesn't make sense that you have a switch topology which offers 10 gigabit and then your access point is kind of a bottleneck. That doesn't make sense. And that's why we came up, or not we, but the industry came up with Wi-Fi 6, which offers 9.6 gigabit per second. So we're very close there from a theoretical point. Looking at connectivity under a 2x2 antenna pattern at 80 megahertz, we get up to 1.2 gigabit per second, which is also what we have reached over here in our theoretical lab test over here, or in our hands-on session. And under 4x4, 80 megahertz, we can reach up to, phenomenal in my opinion, 2.4 gigabit per second. If I would have that at home,
yeah,
I'd be
that
good.
would be great, wouldn't it?
I'd be good,
But at least what we have now is with Wi-Fi 6, we have the switches that can do 10 gigabit.
Exactly.
And now we have also the access points that can do up to 10 gigabit.
Now, let's say the rest is now a question of development and circumstances, meaning what channel width are you using in order to achieve.
What backbone do I have?
Exactly. What backbone do I have? Yeah. I mean, especially for the consumer, the backbone is the, let's say, is the defining factor.
Yeah.
If we take a look at industry, then it is maybe that you might use something out of the realm of normal usage. You might not go with 160 megahertz. You might go with 320 megahertz or even wider frequency spectrums, and there you can get closely to these 9.6 gigabit per second. But that's of course not the point of our discussion over here. We're looking at normal circumstances, and here we got 1.2 gigabit or 2.4 gigabit, yeah, which is already catering, I would say, 95% of all consumer base setups. Taking a look at the technical improvements, or a little bit more into technical, let's say, into technical data. The release date is, of course, very interesting because if you look at 802.11n, 2009 is the release year. Then we got the AC, which has been released in 2013. And then we had 6 years of a period where AC was suitable enough, which is actually an incredible time when you even compare it from N to AC. That's already good, but now the time was right for another standard, and that is AX, which came out last year actually. So kind of, let's say, very fresh into the technology, very much development going on also. Yeah, if we look at the technical information, we got different FFT size, different subcarrier spacing. We got OFDM symbol duration, which basically means, or OFDM is a standard which also defines the way the access point can handle multiple clients at the same time, so it has something to do with that from a very high level perspective. The modulation we have already spoken about very briefly in the Wi-Fi 6 slide, and I think the most important thing is the MU-MIMO, which is kind of, let's say, the anchor point of what Wi-Fi 6 has to offer in a real life scenario when compared to Wave 2.
As you mentioned the classroom scenario already.
Exactly.
You have lots of students, pupils, whatever. They're sitting there. They have to do their exams. They get the same bandwidth. They have the possibility to do upstream, downstream all the time. So this is really an improvement. Yeah.
Exactly. I think Wi-Fi 6 is kind of a breakthrough technology in terms of how we will perceive Wi-Fi in the future. Because for me personally, it was like Wi-Fi is nice, but I always go, the cable is better. Cable is better. It always was just the goodie on top.
Yeah.
I think Wi-Fi 6, when developed and when even further improved, will mark the breakthrough where people will recognize Wi-Fi as an equal technology to cable technologies, especially looking at the younger generations who basically only know these devices kind of. There's no Ethernet port here, so you cannot plug. There are possibilities, but you get the point, right? You use this via Wi-Fi, and I think that Wi-Fi 6 really is that big breakthrough in that respect.
Great.
Taking a look at the hands-on example which we have set up. So we had an WAX650S and a WAC 6303D-S. We created two SSIDs on Nebula, one for the AC network, one for the AX network. We distributed in Nebula that the WAX only had the AX SSID and the WAC only had the AC SSID. So we get, let's say, clear conditions where we are connected to. We had an AX capable client, an iPhone 11 Pro in this sense, because that's also one part of the equation when using AX. You have to have the clients which use that, right?
Of course. I would say it's common practice to have it nowadays.
Exactly. If you have a newer iPhone or a new smartphone, most people have that, in every 2 years.
Or whatever factor.
Then you are good to go. Then you got AX. So it's the new standard. It's already established 1 year. From a topology perspective, we have let me move the mouse over here. We have our company firewall, and then we move over to an XS 1930 12HP, which is a switch which actually offers the BT standard, the PoE standard, which we'll talk about a little bit more in depth later. And we have the two access points, WAC and the WAX, which are broadcasting our SSIDs. Fairly simple to make clear statements. When looking at the TX and RX rate of the AX access point.
That's a Nebula view now.
Exactly, that's Nebula, the monitoring setup. We can clearly see that we have a TX rate of 1,200 megabit per second, basically. This matches exactly to what we had in the presentation slide earlier.
Yes.
If we take a look over here at the AC, we see that the TX rate is 866 and the RX rate is 6. Now you could argue this is maybe because of single user multi-MIMO or MIMO, but basically we have a clear reflecting of the exact values which we have seen before.
Yes.
Yes. And just to explain the situation over here, so when we are doing then the speed test with our AX, we also get values up to 400 megabit per second, which you might think of right now are not 1.2 gigabit, but however, we also got 50 Wi-Fis here simultaneoly all across the platform over here.
Quite a busy place here, yeah.
Exactly. Getting that throughput in this environment is a really good result. So I was really astonished, and I was thinking like me at home with my 50 megabit per second, not so much. I would like to change, So no, it's
there's really the backbone of the problem, isn't it?
Exactly.
So.
But just to reflect that also in real values. Taking a look at the new products, especially with consideration of the 11 AC Wave 2 access points for now, we got SMB controller-based access points and SMB Nebula Flex. The controller-based access points are those which are capable of being managed by an NXC or USG, just as explanation. And here we kind of went with transitioning the older devices, NWA 5123AC, which according to my information has wave 1 AC actually.
Yeah.
We're now transitioning that over to the wave 2. Yeah, so we're getting the multiple user MIMO functionality. We got Nebula Flex Pro support, we got the tunnel mode also supported, and we have an extended service range on 5 gigahertz. What does that mean? That means that we can push a little bit more power onto the 5 gigahertz. Of course, this is always dependent on if your local government allows this. Now, very important part here, very important information here. Certain regulations might, let's say, take you out of that game, that you're not allowed to do so. On the standalone front, so to say the Nebula Flex front, we got the NWA 1123 AC version 2, which is transitioned into the 1123 AC version 3. Also offering the Wave 2, of course, this is kind of the key point, and also supporting Nebula Flex. So yeah, that's basically the transition of these two models. We also got the hospitality hotel dedicated devices, the WAC 5302D-S. We got a version 2 coming out, and as an alternative, we got the WAC 500H as well. Of course, offering Wave 2, that's kind of the point of this presentation over here, and or of these slides. And the WAC 500H is very cost effective, so it offers a lot of features compared to its particular price. However, what I find on most partner setups is that they really like the format of the WAC 5302D. So it's very sleek, it's very small, like maybe this small. It's kind of like these small telephones which you can take the doorbell with, you know, like it looks like that, and you can really have your, you know, like your temperature control, and right beside that you got the access point, and it's very sleek and elegant in design.
Yeah.
Which is generally something which we will talk about in regards of new stuff which is coming up. Taking a look at the new product.
Which is this one, isn't it?
Exactly.
So this,
we got the NWA 110AX or 110AX.
So we have this new design, yeah, it's
exactly.
more clean. It looks quite nice if you attach it to the wall. And it has a LED, which you can also switch off.
You can switch it off. Definitely Nebula standalone should also be possible.
Or whatever.
So then, if you may give me that one, thank you. So what we have over here is, you might remember the smaller access points were a little bit bulky. They look like, you know, like these fire alarm, like these fire alarms over there. Now we got a sleeker design, which is a little bit more subtle and elegant. If you place it somewhere. If you place this on the wall, nobody will really recognize, you know, you will see, okay, there's an access point, but you will not recognize it as something bulky being placed under there. The other devices are different in size and a little bit in thickness, but they all share the same design, which I also find is a good concept, that you will have, let's say, kind of a brand identification over the hardware design.
Yes.
Which is very good. What makes it so special? This is a true Wi-Fi 6 access point, so it delivers OFDMA and multiple MIMO. The easy upgrade path basically is defined by the fact that this can be powered by the older PoE 802.3AT standard compared to the newer BT standard, which is PoE++ compared to PoE+. So you don't have to upgrade your entire topology. You know, you don't have to upgrade your switches. You can basically just take out the old one and place in the new one. Of course, if you have the PoE+ switch, that is, right? But most professional scenarios have that actually in place. The real game changer here is the price point. This offers basically Wi-Fi 6 at a really good deal. So we place this in the market, such as this has the best kind of you get a best bang for the buck setup, and easy management, easy life, meaning you can use this in standalone mode, and you can also use the Nebula flex mode, basically.
Yeah.
Taking a look at the smallest AX access point, let's take a look at the biggest AX access point, which is the WAX 650S. And so while this is a good access point for all standard rudimentary setups, I would highly recommend using the WAX 650S when we got high density environments, meaning if you have like smart classroom, concert venues, cultural events, shopping malls, which are very crowded, hotel lobby, that's where this is the right product for your needs. Has a high density. I would say, we were talking about this earlier when we're looking at real life estimates. So from a theoretical standpoint, I could imagine, so I'm not really 100% sure, but I would think something like 1,000 clients. But of course, that's a theoretical value. When talking about real environments, we're talking about maybe up to 100. I could very good imagine that this could handle perfectly fine. And if you look at, concert venue or something, even especially you mentioned it before with social distancing.
Yes.
Right.
So you cannot fit 100 persons, so to say, below the access point. Yeah,
exactly.
That's true. Yeah.
So if you plan,
a limit, that's for sure.
Exactly. What is also a very nice feature of this bigger access point, which we actually have done the testing with, is we have a 5 gigabit uplink interface. So we're getting kind of, let's say, closer and closer to reaching this 10 gigabit capacity, which we were talking about. The Zyxel Smart Antenna is also implemented, meaning, what does that mean? Zyxel Smart Antenna, so everywhere where you see an S in the product name, you can basically assume that there is a smart antenna implemented.
Correct.
This means we have programmed a lot of different antenna patterns into the unit, meaning that dependent on where the clients are, the access point will search one of the fitting antenna patterns to offer these clients better coverage. Meaning, if you imagine I'm the access point and I have to my left clients and nothing to my right, I will rather take an antenna pattern which kind of suits that scenario. As soon as somebody comes in from the right, then I will switch over and I will have a different antenna pattern, meaning basically that you always have the best possible coverage and data throughput and all the other jazz which comes with Wi-Fi connection to it.
Very important with this access point, you have to run it with PoE++.
Exactly.
If you want to have the full-fledged coverage and everything.
Exactly. So this requires the 802.3 BT standard, PoE++, for the full power mode. There is a limited power mode where it will still distribute the Wi-Fi. You can still connect, but I personally do not recommend this. If you buy this, you want to use it right as
full power,
full power. You can use BT switches. We have the XS1930. -12 HP, which I have used in my lab setup. We have the surveillance switch series, which also come, I think one of them comes with BT functionality on 1 or 2 ports. So there's that. Right? And full control, you can manage this particular access point via either Nebula, standalone, or hardware-based controller. So you're absolutely covered. Whatever you can think of, this device is the right one for you.
Yeah,
buy it.
Yes, no, it's very good.
Okay, let's take a look at what makes the 650S in terms of hardware so special. So what we got over here is a 4G, 5G filter, which minimizes the interferences from cellular networks, which I think is a very important thing, especially considering that 5G is kind of the technology to go in cellular technology, and that there's also still sort of a skepticism toward 5G. So I think this is a very good thing. This will not interfere with this particular access point. We got scanning radio, we got a heat spreader, which actually distributes the heat among the entire chassis. Now, one could think, yeah, of course you got heat spreaders, but this one is special in the sense that is, let's say, spreading it over the entire chassis, meaning that there is an equal distribution of the heat and offloading the controllers and the processors. The processor unit, basically within this unit, very nice feature for me, as a learned state certified engineer, and with my electronical background, that's a nice feature to have. Only you got these chunky heat spreading things over there. We got the smart antenna, which I already talked about. We got a low loss PoE converter, meaning you're saving basically money with using this access point compared to competitors. Got a power noise rejection, so we have a clean signal, signal on the device, no interference from that as well. Certain ESD protection, meaning that you are safe in case maybe lightning strikes or you have maybe a charge upon you and you touch the unit. So there's that. And we got the Bluetooth low energy functionality for advertising purposes, but that's a different story over here. Taking a look at the entire AX portfolio, we got the NWA 110AX and the NWA 210AX, which kind of are the Nebula Flex category. I would rather say the standalone category.
Yes.
I don't know if you could say, while the WAX series are rather the hardware controller-based and Nebula Flex Pro category of things. Taking a look at the comparison table, you can clearly see that the lower modules always have only 2x2 antenna patterns, and the higher models then move over to 4x4 and also a higher uplink. So looking at the LAN setup, compared 110AX to 210AX, we have 1 gigabit compared to 2.5 gigabit. The question is, when you are a home user or when you're using it in a very standard scenario, do you really need it? That's a different question that only you can answer yourself, but there you have it at least. Yeah, the WAX 650S we already talked about, has a smart antenna, scanning radio, Bluetooth functionality, and
can you describe this Bluetooth again?
The Bluetooth functionality is basically on the WAX that you can enhance or you can use the Bluetooth for advertising services. What does that mean? You can enter a so-called UUID into the device, and then depending on the app you use, like Honey is an application for browsers, but if there would be an app which searches for discounts via Bluetooth, then you would walk into the store, you might get, let's say, a notification pushed by this app, which then tells you, hey, look, if you buy 2 trousers, you will get a third for free, or you pay half the price. So you can do clever advertisement tailored towards the respective user on different apps, and that's what this Bluetooth is basically integrated for.
Basically, combine the online world with the offline world.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. So, but let's say this is a very niche functionality of this Bluetooth in the segment. But let's see what the future brings. Maybe there's an interesting usage for that as well. But right now we have this kind of niche advertisement setting. Yeah, that's basically it regarding the AX portfolio over here. We at Zyxel, we do believe that hardware is one thing, but we also put a lot of, let's say, pride, and we have a lot of pride in regards of our support services, and we always try to enhance this, and we also try to find, let's say, different ventures on what to offer to our customers. And so comes that we also now offer the Wi-Fi services, which comprise mainly of the online site survey. What does that mean? Because that's, let's say, might be a term which needs a little bit explanation. You send in a plan of your, so let's say a geographical plan of your setup, of your complex which you want to put Wi-Fi on. You give us information regarding the wall thickness, things to take into consideration in regards of interference and so on and so forth. And then we do the planning for you, meaning that we make suggestions upon which access point you could use, how good is the coverage. So we're making a full-fledged plan of your topology, making sure that you got the right placement. So we're making placement recommendations. It might also be, for example, you come in and you say, I got a big office and I want to use only small access points, like these ones, 110 AX. But depending on your premises and your needs, it would be way smarter to not go with 20 of these, but maybe with 10, or maybe with only 2 or 3 WAX 650S. Then that's something which kind of would get into let's say, be implemented into this online site survey. And in the end, depending on what you have, it might even save you money, right?
Yes, and we have had customers already that were using this service, and they were quite overwhelmed with the result, because they really knew exactly where to put which access point, and they were sure that afterwards coverage is just great.
Exactly.
So that was really an eye-opener for them.
Exactly. So nice thing, you can find out more on our support portal, which you can reach via support.zyxel.eu when you type in the term Wi-Fi coverage study, but we will also show this in the aftermath of this presentation. Moving over to the second kind of leg of the Wi-Fi services is the configuration service, which basically gives you the possibility to tell us what you want to have configured on your unit. Then we make an appointment with you. You go on site, you have the device, or you maybe have them as a test lab in your office. And then we basically support you or we basically configure you the device and explain you while doing that, why we are doing this, what we are configuring, what are the alternatives. So it's kind of a full-fledged support experience where you have a fully reserved time with the engineer which you're talking to. It's up to you if you want to make some small talk with the engineer or if you want to, let's say, program your entire complex. But you have this possibility. So you've got a dedicated technician for a dedicated period of time who's then doing a dedicated configuration based on your needs.
Basically, you either let them do it or you join the session, they do it, and you join the session, and then you know next time you do it.
Exactly. Yeah. So the main goal of these configuration services would be help for self-help, basically. Sure. So we want to educate you, but of course, if you just want to offload your staff and you just want to have the configuration, also possible. Yeah. More can be found on the Zyxel Web EU shop, which we will also show. Link you got down below. One thing to note over here, because you've seen a lot of links and you might not be writing everything along the way, this TECHtalk will be, of course, be recorded and also be published on both our YouTube channel and on the Zyxel Academy, or the Campus Academy. So you can also find these kind of recordings in the aftermath. You also have the possibility to look at the previous recorded TECHtalks. So always a good thing. So if you have not written out the links down, fear not, you can look them afterwards up and then directly jump to the respective section.
Perfect.
As, let's say, the third leg of the Wi-Fi services are our additional platforms in general. So we got the partner portal, we got the support campus, and the campus academy. All of these three portals have different, let's say, different focuses, different things, purposes. Exactly. Thank you very much. So the partner portal is rather for product promotions, discounts, and more. The support campus offers our knowledge base in our support portal. It's kind of the heart tool or the kind of the heart of the support campus in which we are working here. And the campus academy, of course, is, hopefully you all know that because you are actually looking at this TECHtalk. So right now we got the training courses, certifications, and we got the TECHtalk over here at the campus academy. And a very nice thing, which we worked very hard on and now finally achieved, we got a single sign-on across all three platforms. What does that mean for you? You got the same login credentials, and you can use them on all platforms.
You can switch between seamless. So
exactly.
No problem at all.
Yeah. So we take a lot of pride in that we finally achieved this, because that's kind of, let's say, state of the art, right? We want to have seamless transition between the platforms, and we can offer that. Yeah. Very good. If you want to follow different, let's say, different content, different output, different channels, you can move over to LinkedIn, where you can use the hashtag Zyxel Support Campus to follow our posts and our, let's say, upcoming news in regards of our support campus. Or you can actually go to our YouTube channel, Zyxel Support Campus, very new channel, which we're constantly now, let's say, growing and feeding with more content. Yeah. Hop along and enjoy the ride. So we would very much appreciate it.
Yes. So I think we should go to the browser a bit here and share a bit once our support portal and maybe something around. Just again, for everyone, if you have a question, please feel free to raise them here in the environment. I'm looking at that a bit, and Phil will guide you through a bit the possibilities of the support portal.
Exactly. So in the support portal, you can, for example, type in Wi-Fi, and then we already got Wi-Fi site survey, which was exactly what we were talking about when the Wi-Fi coverage study. So you can click on the article and then you can read through as long as it gets. Let's move back to the main site. We also have, let's say, our full-fledged knowledge base with different categories already pre-sorted. We got the demo zone, where we got the virtual lab, where you can look at the graphical user interface of a few devices, as well as our customer experience center. We got the warranty section, where you can register yourself and then claim warranty in case the unlikely event
happens. You can check also your warranty for your product.
Exactly. Yeah, you can also check it, and then directly. Very seamless from the check, also claim RMA if needed, right?
If needed.
If needed, yeah, we have to mention it, right? Or we should mention it. So the campus services then also offer the different services we offer apart from the normal, let's say the normal support, which you anyways have. So Wi-Fi site service, configuration, and smart support. So much or that regarding the support campus. We of course have the partner portal, which we have spoken about earlier. Let me change this over here to English because it automatically sets me to German. In case you are coming from an English-speaking country, you will be redirected to the English page directly.
Sure.
Here you can log in, get some promo codes, discounts, and so on and so forth. And the Zyxel Campus Academy is, of course, that
I would like to highlight, if you go to TECHtalk here, and for everyone, you can register for each TECHtalk episode, but you can also register for this channel kind of in the Campus Academy. Then you will be notified every time we see something new coming up, and you can also see the recordings there all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, and I have spoken about the web shop where you can buy the configuration vouchers. How do I get there? Right, that's a good question. Very easy. You got the banner in the support portal. If you click on the now available setup, you will then have the web store open, which is over here. And here you got, let's say, all the different things which you can buy from a configuration perspective, as well as the Nebula points, which is an interesting thing. So we have spoken about Nebula Flex and Nebula Flex Pro.
Yeah.
The difference is basically licensing points. Yeah, that's all what it's about. So you got a few different monitoring sections and very limited set of features which are actually limited in Nebula. And you can transition your Nebula Flex access points to Nebula Flex Pro by purchasing these licenses and feeding them off into your Nebula account. So far, so good. There we got all the platforms and all the different stuff where you can find that. I think if you move over to our support portal, support.zyxel.eu, that's kind of the heart of everything. And from there on, you can get to the shop. You can also then find other articles about the academy and the partner portal, etc. So I think you're good to go. This is, let's say, the most important thing.
That's always a standard address, yes. And we have one question here, and
yes.
That is compatibility. So the question is basically that they have tested, if I understand this correct, they have tested, partner has tested here Wi-Fi 6. Got some problems on the Wi-Fi compatibility. I guess it's about throughput in the end and the whole setup. Maybe you can explain a bit. So if you have Wi-Fi 6, what is also important is to have the right switch, to have the right firewall and whatever.
Yeah, sure. So of course you have to make sure that your backbone supports whatever speed you need. So you will not get any more speed if you have, let's say, a small USG, which only anyways can offer, let's say, 300 megabit per second in terms of SPI firewall throughput. This was also when we were first doing the hands-on lab. There was also an initial problem because I was walking through USG 60 just for setup measurements, and of course you get the same speed because the maximum speed of Wi-Fi 6 will exceed anyway what the USG can offer. So that's one important thing. You also have to make sure that that the backbone, so the internet service provider backbone, that actually supports your speed necessities. However, moving away from the speed necessities, because I think that this is something which many customers might struggle with because they're not aware of, that just plugging in the access point won't do the real difference. You have to overhaul your entire network basically to enjoy all the features which come with Wi-Fi 6. However, one feature which you will anyways profit from is what we have spoken about, the multiple user MIMO setup.
Yes, that's
so that's kind of, let's say, I personally would say from my from my standpoint, that's the core feature of Wi-Fi 6, that you have that the performance is set up on the access point that it can offer multiple users download, upload at the same time, also input and output, and then multiple streams, meaning it doesn't matter if you're using YouTube, Netflix, Facebook, FTP transfer, and the download at the same time on the same client. Everything will run smoothly from a handling perspective on the access point. And it doesn't matter if you use it on 1 or 20 clients, it still works fine because of the setup Wi-Fi 6 has. I'm not sure if this fully answers the question, but if you have issues, because I have understood it so, that you might have issues by testing it, then the right platform would be to contact the support. And then we would take another look into that one. Yeah.
I mean, key is that all the devices that you're using are supporting the street, that the clients that you're using are supporting AX.
Exactly.
That's also important. But still, I would say that if your client supports AX, which is more and more getting the case, even if you don't change your backbone, the MIMO improvements will give you a really big difference to your previous installation.
Exactly. So it will not maybe change the value which I see on speedtest.net.
Yes.
But it will change the way how Wi-Fi is.
How I perceive it, really.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
I see.
So that might be the main judgment. I hope this kind of answers your question. If not, please let us know. If it's, let's say, a little bit deeper, then feel free to reach out to.
You're always invited to open the support case, give us a call, and I hope to support you with that.
Of course.
Right. So.
Other questions?
Yes. How is the performance if we have a Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 5 client mixed, I guess, on the same access point?
On the same access point, Wi-Fi 5
shouldn't be any problem, is it?
It should. First of all, it shouldn't be any problem. I have not read through the backward compatibility of the standards yet, so I'm not sure if there's a backward compatibility on the AX. If you only set up AX, if the AC clients can connect to that still, that I'm not sure about. However, there should be actually no substrate difference, because anyways, you have to also think about when you have a Wi-Fi 6 access point, you can only choose one standard, right? So you can only, let's say, you can only choose one AX standard or one AC standard, and depending on that, you are predefining let's say, the results in terms of the multiple user MIMO, for example. If you have an AC client and you have a mixed setup and you have access points which are distributing maybe 2.4 gigahertz N, and they're distributing on 5 gigahertz AX or something, which I think actually is not possible because you have to combine both. But let's just say you have a mixed setup in some sense, then of course you will have a decrease on the AC side of things, you know, in respect to what the standard gives you. That said, AC is not being totally it's not the worst thing now that AX came up, but AX is just a new standard, you know, and AX is becoming more and more prominent and more, let's say, displayed on the clients, for example. If you buy yourself a new iPhone 11 Pro, or you also have an iPhone 11, then you're kind of not bound to AX, but it's becoming the new standard. So the expectation of people will be in the future that they might see an AX access point.
But if I have an AX access point, and if I want to be future-proof, yes, but I still have AC devices, that's not a problem, is it?
Exactly, that should not be the problem.
And if I have then an AX access point, and I have some AX clients and some AC clients on that access point, it always will have faster throughput for the AX client and for the AC.
Exactly.
And MIMO is anyway there.
Yeah. So you can set up on these devices. So yesterday I was testing a little bit around with those. You can set AC up, of course. However, by taking that standard, you will not get the benefits which come with AX.
Of course.
So even if this device, because of AX, has the possibility to offer better multiple user MIMO setup, you will not use this when
Still,
you AC.
if you want to do the transition now, you can do it. You can use your old clients, and you're already future for.
Exactly. So from a setting perspective, they should be backward compatible. Yeah, I already checked this up with the WAX, so you can set a WAC network on a WAX. That's not the problem. The problem is how do you use it with your clients and in what respect. So that's a little bit more of a deeper complex setup, which we cannot unfortunately cover here completely in all of its facets.
We have one more question from Mr. Fuchsberger, and that is that which switches go along with the Wi-Fi 6 access point? Yeah.
So in my test setup, I use the XS1930 12 HP because that offers the BT functionality and also 5 gigabit uplink. So that was my personal choice in this respect, and it's also implementable in Nebula. So that's a good plus.
He's talking about 2.5 gigabit uplink. He has.
Okay. Right out of the bat, I would still keep my statement with XS1930 12 HP.
Perfect.
However, also due to the fact that I don't know every switch right now out of my head, which has this respective throughput, but it has proven to work very well. Has Nebula Flex capability, offers BT, offers 5 gigabit uplink. So these are strong arguments for this particular switch. Of course, there will be other switches out there. DS1350 right out of the head also offers, one of them offers BT as well, and also offers higher throughputs. However, in case there are still questions, I would rather refer to sales right now at the moment because they are the specialists when it comes to knowing all the data sheets.
Sure.
So we could, of course, look into all the data sheets, no problem. And if you call the support organization, we actually then do that together with you and try to find out the right information and make some recommendations. But of course, I'm also human and I only have one brain.
All right, but your recommendation out of the current known, you would say the XS1930
exactly.
one, yes.
Yeah.
I see. Right, and that will work with the 2.5 multi-gigabit. Perfect. So, right. I don't have any further questions here, Phil. I can just say let's close the session here. Thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you very much, everyone, that you participated. Next Tech Talk will be in something like 1 month, and we are talking about the new USG Flex series by then. So thank you very much for today, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Stay healthy. Bye.